Did anybody watch this event? Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't the most exciting. I really wasn't too hyped for it to begin with. I don't know about you guys, but for me, as I watched it, I felt like I was trying not to cringe. Javier is in here as well. A phone should not cost $1,000 and be plastic, Samsung. Wait, is there Note 20? Is there a Note 20 plastic? What? How is $1,000 phone plastic? I don't understand Samsung's strategy by having a Note 20 that's inferior and more expensive than the S20 Plus, with which it shares its hardware. Yes, actually, that's a really good point. There's also a big difference in regards to build quality. You get the standard treatment of a metal and glass construction for the Note 20 Ultra, but the Note 20 drops the glass back in favor of a plastic one. I mean, hell, a TCL 10 Pro is $450 and has a premium build quality to it. To think that you'd be paying $1,000 for a phone and you'd be getting plastic materials just doesn't make any sense to me. For some reason, like, I'm not spazzing out because I'm kind of in shock that I just would not expect that. I wouldn't even think this would be a thing. Is this something that they even talked about in the rumors? We've heard all the rumors about these phones. Did anybody even mention the fact that the Note 20 was going to be coming in plastic at $1,000? And they're talking about the S20 Ultra versus the Note 20 Ultra, and what did Samsung learn from its last Ultra phone? So, well, look at this. So the S20 Ultra had the option of 16 gigs of RAM. The S20 Ultra versus the Note 20 Ultra had a bigger battery at 5,000 milliamp hours. This one is saying 45 wired, but not really. I don't know the thing about that. So this is probably the biggest thing on the Note 20 Ultra versus the S20 Ultra, is the fact that they probably fixed the autofocus on this phone, which is a shame for people who spent the money on a Galaxy S20 Ultra and they're stuck with an autofocus that does not work properly. Despite what they've said that they fixed it or whatever, I don't think that they have completely. And then $1,300 versus $1,400. So they've dropped the price $100 here. A ton of readers and Samsung fans may remember the autofocus issues the S20 Ultra suffered. Though the phone packed in a massive sensor, apparently that increase in size resulted in problems like slow and hunting autofocus. Some claim that subsequent updates were able to reduce the problem, though it never really went away. To me, if you spent $1,300 on a phone and it had autofocus issues, like, one of the reasons that you bought that S20 Ultra was for its camera, and to have autofocus issues at $1,300, or was it $1,400? $1,400, right, is unacceptable. I would return that phone after that, or during that 30-day warranty. And even if it expired after, and I found that out afterwards, I would have fought tooth and nail to get that phone turned in, refunded, whatever. I maybe would have tried to get it replaced, and if it never fixed it, I would have just said, no, refund my money, or, I'll take whatever measures I can to get my money back, because that is unacceptable. Don't pay $1,400 for a phone if you're going to have autofocus issues. I mean, at least for me, camera is one of the priorities. And if I'm spending that much money for a phone, like, be sure that I'm not going to be like sitting idly by and having autofocus issues and let them get away with that. And it looks like here the Note 20 Ultra has fixed that, which is great. But God, do I feel bad for people who spent money on their S20 Ultra and don't even realize. It's a shame that a company could get away with that. So it says here, in effect, the Note 20 Ultra admits that was a design defect. Or at least a tremendous oversight. Wow, what an oversight. With the inclusion of a laser autofocus module that promises much faster focusing. Well, at least they corrected it for the Note 20 Ultra. Samsung also seems to have learned that its hyperbolic 100 times space zoom in the S20 Ultra was a step too far, and which again is a marketing thing. People got caught in too much of this hype for this 100 times space zoom when it effectively didn't really do much of anything here. Results at the far end of that range were pretty terrible, impressive at times that subjects were even recognizable, but ultimately a muddy, useless mess. But its software-assisted zoom did an acceptable job up to around 30 30 to 50 times, and Samsung has drawn its new line at precisely 50 times. So at least they corrected that, or they didn't go ahead and just started bragging about 100 times zoom, even though they knew it was going to be shitty anyway. The last big change that shows Samsung learning something from the S20 Ultra is the Note 20 Ultra's diminished charging speed. This time around, things max at a more pedestrian but more realistic 25 watts. Since the Note 10 Plus, Samsung's been advertising a hyperbolic 45 watt USB power delivery based charging solution, but in repeated testing, none of its phones ever reached, let alone sustained, such speeds, maxing out closer to 30 to 35 watts before falling. 25 watts is probably a more realistic goal and a much more honest number to advertise. Hold on here. I didn't realize this. The S20 Ultra, okay, I knew that the S20 Ultra had issues with autofocus. I knew that people paid $1,400 for a phone with a failing camera. Whether somebody wants to argue with me on that or not, I mean, I guess you have the right to if you own the phone, because I don't. But it seems like from multiple articles I've read, from multiple reports from other tech sites and enthusiasts and YouTubers or whatever, the autofocus is an issue on the S20 Ultra. Somebody paid $1,400 for a phone that has an autofocusing issue. That is one huge glaring mistake that you paid a lot of money for. And if you still have that phone and are having that issue, I'm sorry, for one. Two, I don't know why you haven't fought to get your money back for that, because that's an unacceptable flaw. And especially now that the Note 20 Ultra is out, why would you accept that as your phone after you paid the money for it? That is number one. Number two, I didn't realize, well, two, or a small two or a big two, is we can talk about this 100 times zoom, right? So this is another part of the camera that you paid your $1,400 for. So yes, autofocus, the major issue there, a flaw, a design defect, whatever they want to call it. Samsung, I've been really good about my swearing here, because like I want to keep my stuff monetized, but Samsung fucked up here. They fucked up. They did. They made a mistake. They let people pay $1,400 for the phone. They got to pocket a lot of money, and no returns, no nothing. I mean, I'm sure if you called and you bitched about it, they would probably do something for you. But you would have to be proactive and do that yourself. Otherwise, you are just sitting there with a $1,400 phone that you paid for, and Samsung gets to pocket that money and smiles as they do it, while they get to go ahead and release new phones that you'll probably pay more money for, and who knows what kind of defect that might have down the road. Then they market space, this 100 times space zoom, where you can go see a mile down the road and you can see what the other person across the apartment building is doing in the shower. It effectively was not really like, yeah, did it zoom 100 times in? Kind of, but was it even useful? Probably not. So here they are now correcting themselves with it on the Note 20 Ultra, saying, yeah, it does 50. And like they said here, it's probably more useful between the 30 and 50 times zoom, which is okay. But Samsung gets away with that as well, marketing 100 times zoom. And then I'm reading this thing here about the charging. I didn't realize this. So I knew that Samsung bragged about 45 watt charging, but I did not know that it was not capable, or that it was incapable of charging at 45 watts. I didn't realize this. In repeated testing, none of its phones ever reached, let alone sustained, such speeds, maxing out closer to 30 to 35 watts before falling. 25 watts is probably a more realistic goal and a much more honest number to advertise. You're telling people to spend $1,400 for a phone. You're bragging about 100 times zoom that effectively doesn't work. You're bragging about 45-watt charging that effectively doesn't work as well, which is probably why you included only a 25-watt charger in there, right? That's why you did that, Samsung. Like I'm sitting here now fuming because I don't spend money on Samsung phones. I have in the past. I recently bought, that international Galaxy A71 that I ended up returning after the 30 days. But seeing this kind of stuff is what pisses me off, because you are straight up just lying to your consumer. How can I recommend a Samsung phone when this is the shit that you pull as a company? And then now we're sitting here talking about the Note 20 that's $1,000 that has a plastic back. How can I recommend your products to people? Like, Samsung has been known to have good build quality. I've always given them that. Software usually, but good build quality. Great display, right? But I read this kind of stuff, and I don't even know why I haven't. And it's because I haven't owned a Samsung in a while. I feel like the Note 20 Ultra is their fix to a fuck up of the S20 Ultra. That's what the Note 20 Ultra is. It's a fix to their fuck up of the S20 Ultra. So the new bolted on laser autofocus module and reduction in space zoom are pretty clear indicators that Samsung actually is listening and that it's learned a few important things from its first Ultra flagship. The company could just as easily have ignored complaints about autofocus and inflated zoom numbers and shipped a device that was much closer to the S20 Ultra, waiting to improve things with the Galaxy S30 or S21, whatever it ends up being called. But Samsung paid attention and we got a better phone for it. No. They straight up lie to you. They straight up exaggerate and manipulate the wording to make you buy a phone, and then when you get it, after you spend all your hard-earned money, you get for all that money you paid for. There are many other phones that you could have probably bought, or hundreds of dollars you could have saved instead of having to deal with that. That's it. That's all I have to say. This is that's